Greetings, everyone. My name is Julie Masters, and welcome to another episode of Inside Influence, in which I delve into the minds of some of the world's most fascinating influencers or experts in influence to get to the bottom of what it really takes to own your voice and then amplify it to drive an industry, a conversation, a movement, or a nation. Here we are with another power cut of the podcast, number 3, I think. Our way of keeping you inspired over Christmas and New Year while our Inside Influence team takes a little bit of a break to rest and recharge. We have gone back through all the episodes and narrowed down not only the 5 conversations we would think will be the most helpful, but the specific parts of those episodes that will give you one tool, insight, or mindset shift to take it to the next level for whatever big visions or plans you have brewing for 2022. In today's episode, it's the wisdom of Rich Diviney. Rich is a former Navy SEAL commander who served in the US Navy for 20 years and completed 13 overseas deployments, including Iraq and Afghanistan. Having worked as the officer in charge of training for other Navy SEALs for specialized command, Rich became curious as to why a massive 50% of SEALs were failing the training, despite having all the prerequisite skills and experiences to succeed. What he discovered was that success was actually determined not by a person's skills, but by their attributes. Qualities including resilience, grit, adaptability, none of which we get training for, and all of which he calls the hidden drivers of performance. It is these keys to performing under pressure that he breaks down in his latest book, The Attributes, 25 Hidden Drivers of Optimal Performance. In today's flashback, you're going to hear him diving into the part of the conversation where he explains the difference between quitting and giving up, and how successful people use quitting to redirect their energy in more efficient ways. Now, after a year of asking myself that exact same question on so many occasions, am I quitting something that isn't working? Am I being smart with my time? Or am I just giving up when the going gets tough? I needed to hear this again. In his words, the secret to success is not necessarily to never quit, but to quit as many times as you have to until you find what works. So with that said, sit back, take a breath, and listen to a voice from the front line of performance under pressure, Rich Diviney.
The idea that I've been thinking about a lot, in fact, I just wrote a piece on this, is this idea that that quitting is not the same as giving up. And I wrote a piece on this because what occurred to me is that quitting is in fact kind of an acute, singular act, right? And it's very very present when you quit. I'm going to quit my workout. I'm going to quit my run. I'm going to quit. Quit doing whatever I'm doing, right? Giving up means there's more longevity to giving up. It means I'm ceasing to try. I'm stopping. I'm ceasing effort. I'm stopping my effort in doing something. And so what I realized, because this whole Olympic stuff was going on, and Simone Biles, she dropped out of some events, and then of course here in the States there was the normal kind of bifurcation of of opinions, because everything has to be binary nowadays, and a lot of people were hailing her as a hero, and some people were saying she's a quitter, and of course I'm someone who really believes, I've done hundreds of combat missions, and the Navy SEAL mantra people think is, hey, never quit, and that's true, but it's only kind of true. Out of hundreds of missions, I've actually quit on 3. And when I say quit, I mean I've been the officer in charge and I've decided, hey, we're going to stop and we're going to return to base. We're not going to continue on with the mission. And the reason why I made that decision is because you continuously assess and read the environment. And what I think we all have to recognize is if we're not continually assessing and reading the environment and recognizing when we may be going down the wrong path, we are going to hurt ourselves. We're going to put ourselves in danger. We will not accomplish our goals. So I said to myself, it seems to me that in fact the secret to success is not necessarily to never quit. It's almost I'm gonna quit as many times as I have to until I find the right way to do it. Just so the idea is you can quit as many times as you have to, but never give up, right? Because giving up is more long term.
I mean, what you're saying there is that giving up it feels incremental, right?
Yeah.
Giving up is a over a period of time where you just slowly and quietly retract your energy and effort to
Yeah.
the point where you kind of the wheels just stop spinning.
That's right.
Whereas quitting has a certainty to it.
Yeah.
There's leadership
Yeah.
to quitting.
Well, and also, so just takes the example of quitting a workout. I mean, it's I might be in my workout. I might find, man, I pull a muscle or I feel something wrong. It's like I need to quit my workout. That doesn't mean I'm giving up on getting in shape or giving up on becoming healthy. I'm quitting the moment because the moment is not feeling like it's in concert or in conduct of my overall goal. So I think we have to almost, I think, when we're looking at especially long-term goals and what we're doing, and the reason it occurred to me is because a lot of people, especially in the States, they're quitting their jobs. They've come out of the pandemic and the quarantine made them recognize, I'm not happy doing what I'm doing. I'm not fulfilled doing what I'm doing. So they're quitting their jobs, and there's actually nothing wrong with that. If they are doing, as long as it's not because it's hard, right? You don't want to quit just because it's hard. But if you're taking an honest look at the direction you're heading, the path you're on, you're saying, you know what, this path is not getting me to where I want to go. Quit what you're doing and try something new. That's the idea.
I just want to dive into that very quickly because there's something here really for right now.
Yeah.
As you said, there's a lot of people quitting their jobs. There's a lot of people doing side hustles. There's a lot of people quitting the way they used to do family.
Mm-hmm.
Quitting. I mean, I can think even in my own life. We used to do family this way. There's parts of that weren't working, but we were just too much in motion to reconsider them. So when you're in that moment, when you're feeling like, okay, something's not working here, is there a barometer that you use? Is there like I don't want to say checklist, but is there something in your gut where you go, okay, are these things true? And if they are, it's time to quit.
That's a great question. And I think there should be some sort of mental checklist. And the way I would describe that is if I were to take one of the missions that we were on, in fact, I was telling a story about it was the very first mission that I was on. We had just gotten to Afghanistan for one of our deployments. I had just taken over the specific SEAL troop. So it was my first time in charge of this specific SEAL troop. I'd worked very hard to get there. I was very excited. It was our very first mission in country. And it was as we were, and so the mission we were going to do, it seemed like a pretty simple one, fairly simple objective. The terrain was simple. The plan seemed fairly simple. During the planning process, though, we started getting a few hiccups, right? The comms frequencies had to be changed. The routes were a little bit difficult. Some of the gear we were going to use wasn't available. And so of course we adjust and we kind of move on. And then of course we're on our way into the target, and a couple more things happen. The comms, in fact, and the vehicles hadn't been changed, so we had to pull over and change those. And then we found that the routes that we had chosen weren't good, and so we had to move to a secondary and a tertiary route. So the timeline began to expand. And so, and all little things that weren't insurmountable, but were, I ticked away in my brain, because whenever you read any type of after action report on any tragedy, whether it's a military one or an air disaster, whatever, it's almost always a series of little things that add up to this big thing. And we always
Death
say
by 1,000 cuts.
And so always say hindsight is 20/20, and of course all of us on the back end are saying, how could they not have seen this, right? But these little things, if you're not taking notice, they will add up without you knowing. So I always say there was never a specific number of things that made me click over and say, okay, that's it. But there is going to be enough where you say, you know what, this doesn't seem like it's working. I think it's time we turn around. And so whether it's a mission, or whether it's a pathway we're on, whether it's parenting, whether it's the way we're working, I think it would behoove us to make that list in our heads, because it's always a bunch of little things, and little things are always easy to say, okay, it's okay, forget about it. But it's the adding up of the little things that eventually lead to either tragedy or failure, or, man, this was just a wrong pathway to go. So I think what you're saying makes sense.
And there's also another language for that, right? That feeling of being out of flow. The difference between being in flow when, it's not easy, you might not be having fun, you might not be happy, but you're moving forwards and things, one breadcrumb after another breadcrumb after another breadcrumb, things are working.
Yeah.
You feel like you're moving with a tide.
Right.
And then there's the other feeling of the banging your head against a brick wall. Nothing is working here, and I can keep going until I have a very sore head, or I can stop, retreat, reconsider.
Yeah. And it all takes thought and introspection, because again, I talk about perseverance as an attribute, and the way I deconstruct perseverance as an attribute, I say it's a mixture of tenacity, persistence, and fortitude. And it's interesting because if you look at persistence and tenacity, they're actually in fact not the same thing. Persistence is I'm in the effort to solve a problem or accomplish an act, I'm going to do the same thing over and over and over again until it happens, right? This is it's the stonecutter approach, right? The stonecutter taps the same spot, 99 times and sees nothing, and then the 100th tap, the rock breaks, right? That's the stonecutter. That's what persists. So the stonecutter needs persistence, right? Tenacity is different. Tenacity is I'm going to try something, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to try something else, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to try something else. That's the car mechanic approach, right? The car mechanic's going to look at the belts, and then if it's not the belts, go to the carburetor. If it's not the carburetor, go to the spark plugs, whatever it is. Well, if you have a tenacious stonecutter, you're never going to get a stone carved, right? If you have a persistent mechanic, you're going to just end up with a large bill, and your car's not going to get fixed. But as human beings, as people who kind of work in life, right, we actually have to balance both, because sometimes persistence is necessary, and then sometimes tenacity is necessary. Fortitude is actually kind of the mental toughness to be able to move through either one. But regardless of any of that, it takes a deliberate thought process to say, okay, is this something that, in fact, will take and needs persistence? In other words, I know if I just keep on doing this. Listen, if you keep on working out, if you keep on eating healthy, you may not see results in the first week. You may not see results in the second week. You may not see the results in the third week, but you will see results, right? That's where persistence matters, right? Or it might be something else, tenacity, where, hey, I need to try something, and if it doesn't work, I need to try something else, And so all of this takes some introspection, some thought, and some real kind of decision making on our part to decide, is this something that I need to quit and try something? Tenacity, in fact, is just a different form of quitting.
Thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode and have seized hold of at least one tool, idea, or mindset that will help you start raising your own level of influence. Now, for those of you who want to take the next step in your journey, or would just love a roadmap to becoming the most influential voice, idea, or brand in your space, then I have good news. You can now download the latest updated version of my ebook, The Influencer Code, from my website, juliemasters.com. Also, there's a link in the show notes. Just pop in your email address, and I promise I will not spam you, but it is jam-packed full of ideas, tools, and case studies that I have come across in my now 20 plus years of doing this work. Not to mention the 7 areas and 7 core questions that I have found to be hands down the most valuable when it comes to immediately lifting your ability to make an impact. Download it, keep it, share it, juice it for all it is worth. I hope it makes a massive difference in both your career and your business. Thank you always to my co-founder and the main brain behind this podcast, Lauren Kelly. You kick my butt in all the right ways. Thank you for making it happen. And if you did enjoy the show, then we would love you to share this podcast and leave us a review on iTunes, Google, Stitcher, whatever your platform of choice happens to be. And don't forget to subscribe to make sure that you never miss an episode.